Good morning, everyone. My presentation is what do we really know about addiction? And I like to present it from a system view of behavior, environment, and change. I want to explore a question that seems simple at first, but becomes more complicated the deeper we examine it. What do we really know about addiction? Most people understand addiction mainly as a substance problem. But modern research suggests addiction may involve biology, psychology, trauma, stress, environment, and human connection all interacting together. Today, I'll briefly discuss traditional views of addiction, the Rat Park experiment, the biopsychosocial model, and why recovery is often viewed as a process rather than a single moment. For many years, addiction was viewed mainly as a substance problem. Alcohol, drugs, behavior, and the common response was simple: just stop. This perspective shaped many public attitudes during the war on drugs era in the United States. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, substances like opioids, alcohol, and stimulants can reinforce repeated behavior through dopamine activity in the brain. This helped researchers understand addiction as more than simply a moral failure. But important questions remain. Why do some people recover while others continue struggling? Why does environment appear to matter so much? As shown in this visual, one experiment that challenged traditional thinking became known as Rat Park. Researchers placed rats alone in isolated cages with access to drugged water. The isolated rats repeatedly used the substance heavily. Later, researchers created a different environment called Rat Park, which included space, stimulation, toys, and social interaction. The rats living in Rat Park used far fewer drugs. Same substance, different environment, different outcome. This experiment became important because it suggested addiction may involve more than chemistry alone. It raised questions about isolation, stress, environment, and human connection. This next visual represents what many professionals now call the biopsychosocial model. This model explains addiction through multiple interacting factors rather than one single cause. Biology includes genetics, brain chemistry, and physical dependency. Psychology includes trauma, stress, mental health, and coping patterns. Environment includes relationships, stability, support systems, and social conditions. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, recovery is often strengthened through counseling, healthcare access, peer support, and meaningful community connection. Studies show that trauma and instability during childhood may increase vulnerability to mental health disorders and substance use later in life. This does not remove personal responsibility, but it does suggest human behavior develops through systems interacting together over time. As shown in this final visual, many researchers now view recovery as a process rather than a single decision. People often move through stages of change gradually, sometimes forward, sometimes backward. One important distinction in behavioral health is the difference between lapse and a relapse. A lapse may be a brief return to a behavior. A relapse usually refers to a longer return to old patterns. Modern recovery models increasingly focus on stress, triggers, support systems, coping skills, and long term stability. Recovery may involve counseling, peer support, behavioral therapy, housing support, employment, and medication assisted treatment, depending on the individual's needs. Many professionals now view recovery not simply as stopping substances, but as rebuilding stability, identity, and connection. So today I discussed traditional views of addiction, the Rat Park experiment, the biopsychosocial model, and the idea that recovery is often a process rather than a single moment. The deeper researchers study addiction, the more they continue discovering that these issues are not simply about substances alone. They're about trauma, stress, environment, relationships, meaning, and human connection. So if behavior is shaped by systems, then changing the system may help change the outcome. I'm Angelo Brooks, and thanks for letting me share.